Back with this 2019 Chevy Silverado. As you can see, there's a valve cover that we removed, and I kind of removed this little plastic cover is held by 4 bolts, and I was kind of getting these little plastic zip ties cut out. I had forgotten that there's 3 wires that they use those little Christmas tree little tabs to hold it onto that plastic shield. They're impossible to get to, guys. Well, almost impossible. So instead of me trying to get those off from the back, which you have very, very limited space, I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts. I'm going to unbolt that intake. I am going to slide that intake out from under that plastic shield. Once I get the intake out, it'll give me more room to play with that little shield, bring it forward just a bit, and be able to get those little Christmas tree tabs off of the back. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and remove the 10 bolts that are holding the intake together. There's one right there. Follow it along. And of course, the ones in the very, very back are kind of hard to get to. And then you got some on this side of the intake. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on a time lapse, guys. Once I remove it, those bolts on the intake do have to come completely off of that intake, because they drop back in and it's going to make it impossible for you guys to remove that, pull that intake out. So as you loosen them, go ahead and remove the bolt and take it out completely. Let me go ahead and set up and start taking that one out. Well, guys, as you saw, that little cover is still in there. Intake's over here. I removed 10 bolts, and you can see there's 5 on this side, 5 on this side. I removed that little canister purge valve. I didn't want to break it, and the connector is facing downward, so it's very hard to take the little lock off and disconnect it. So I just pulled it off, made it a little bit easier for me to remove it. Remove this little breather tube and came right out. So let me go ahead and get this off, and let's see what else we're gonna have to do to get to those lifters real quick. Well, guys, those little plastic little Christmas tree little plugs were the ones that were holding that plastic cover in place. That one came off. Now I got to get that insulating pad out of the way. Let me go ahead and do that, and then you don't want to get rid of this one. I've heard of some people not putting it back on, and you're going to start hearing some strange noises. So it's better if you just kind of put it back on when you're assembling this damn thing. There we go. That's it. There are your fuel rails. So now, go ahead and remove the fuel rails, injectors, remove the valve cover on the driver's side, get our rockers out of the way, pull those push rods out, see they're bent. Hopefully they're not, but start trying to figure out what the hell happened and what we're going to replace and what we're going to reuse. So let me go ahead and continue with this side. Let me get that cover off, get that valve cover and coils off, and then we'll go ahead and start pulling all those rockers and push rods. Well guys, there's a valve cover. It's a little sludgy, as you can see, but it is what it is. We're gonna have to clean all this up. We're gonna have to clean all the, well, we're removing the heads, we're sending them in, so they're gonna get cleaned. I'm pretty sure the owner's gonna be happy with his truck once he gets it back. I mean, I'm just curious. I want to know if there's any damage to those push rods. So let me go ahead and yank those two off real quick and see what they look like. For this one, 8mm little socket. We'll get these off. There's one. There's two. I'm just cleaning them off, guys. Well guys, I took them over to a flat surface. I rolled both of them on the table and they don't wobble, so by the looks of it, push rods are fine. So it's going to be a collapse lifter on this one. So let me go ahead and continue, guys. I'm going to do the rest on time lapse. Let me go ahead and, well, I already started, might as well just remove all the rockers, pull all the push rods, put them in a nice little bucket and clean them up later on. So let me go ahead and do that. Well guys, the push rod seems to be fine, and let me see if I can show you. I don't know if this is gonna work, but yeah, there it is. There it is. You can see right through the push rods. So even though they have some crud on them, push rods are not clogged up. So oil was going through them. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and continue. Pull that, all those fuel lines, fuel rails, injectors, and that valley cover, and then we'll go ahead and pull those exhaust manifolds off and yank those heads right off. I still need to find out if the gentleman is going to want to do the side that is damaged, or if he's going to want to do all 16 of them. So we might, depending on what the customer wants, we might end up just tearing up tearing apart the passenger side, which is 2, 4, 6, and 8, because 8 was the one that was failing. So we might just do that. If we get a green light on doing both sides, then we'll go ahead and knock both of them out. I did buy both head gaskets. We'll see what the customer wants, but for now, let me go ahead and continue tearing this one apart. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up all those rockers, put them in a little box, set them aside with the push rods so we can clean them, and continue tearing this one apart. Give me a second, guys.
Okay, so I'm going to loosen these up and make them kind of depressurize, and then yank them off. According to Chevrolet, these fuel lines should not be reused. They're supposed to be replaced. I'm not even going to tell the customer if he wants to reuse them. I'm going to go ahead and replace them. I don't want to have to go back and tear this apart because one of my wicked fuel lines generates. I used a 17mm wrench to loosen those. I got a 10mm little bolt holding this little.
Well guys, I already got the little fuel line little adapter on there to remove it. I'll show you in a bit. All you do is you push them in, and come on. There you go. A little stubborn, but fuel lines off and out of the way. These are the little adapters that we use to, well, they make others that are a little fancier, nicer, aluminum. These are a cheap plastic set, but they do what they're supposed to. Now that we got that off, we can go ahead and loosen fuel rails. I already got the connectors for the injectors off, so the fuel rail comes out with the harness, injector harness. Let me go ahead and try and get those. Using a 13mm socket. I'm going to get these in time lapse. Sorry about that, guys. I'll pull the next one off on regular time, not time lapse. Got a little carried away. Let me go ahead and loosen up the bolts, and then I'll come back and I'll pull that rail off. Okay, on this one, guys, on this one, when you loosen all the bolts, and all the bolts are, you know, all the way pushed all the way out, apply a little bit of pressure under the fuel rail. I mean, it's not that much. It's very little fuel, very little pressure. Hold on. Let me get some leverage. There we go. There. And don't yank it from one corner, because injectors have a long little tip. So just pry it loose on the back end, and then come over to the back and do the same thing in the back. There we go. And you see, the nozzle itself is kind of long. So if you pry on one side only, you might break the nozzle off. So and on those you can't put them on backwards or not like that. The one on the driver's side, which is 1357, has a fuel pressure sensor in the very back, and of course because of the fuel line, so you can't mix them up. They only go in one way. Guys, for this connector here, basically you have to pull this gray little latch back, and then you can turn it. This is the way you unlock this harness. This harness is the one that feeds power to all your valves for the ATF, for the lifter to be able to turn on and off, or kill that cylinder, or whatever you want to call it, guys. Let me go ahead and get that high pressure pump out of the way. Well, guys, harness, 8 solenoids, the push rod over there in the back for your pump. I mean, it's a little cruddy, but it is what it is. Since number 8 was failing, well, again, we'll see what the customer says, and let's go ahead and continue. I gotta go talk to him real quick and see what exactly he's gonna want me to do. As soon as I get an answer from the owner, I will go ahead and continue with this one, guys. All right. Well, guys, I already got the 3 15mm nuts in the bottom holding that exhaust manifold in place. So now let me go ahead and try and, well, not try, I have to get it off. Let me get that exhaust manifold out of this truck. I was going to try and get the head off without taking the manifold off, but I couldn't bend the exhaust manifold enough. So well, guys, I got the bolts all loosened 90 degrees. So now I'm going to go ahead and go another roughly like a 180. guys, all the bolts are loose. So now let me go ahead and get them all up. Let me get my small little ratchet 3/8. I mean, they're already loose, so make it easier to turn that ratchet. So let me get the 3/8 and I'll continue. I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of the time lapse. They're all loose. Let me go ahead and take them off, and then I'll come back to you guys and remove that head. Well guys, those are all 10 bolts. I don't know if you noticed, but I used a socket in the extension to kind of pull the bolts on the inside part of the head where the springs and valves are, because they're kind of sunken in. So I just used the socket to kind of I put the socket over it, then I kind of turned it sideways. It pinched the bolt and it helped me pull them out. So, well, let me go ahead and get ready to remove that head. Let me just do that final little check, make sure I didn't forget anything, and then we'll go ahead and yank it right off. Well guys, I went ahead and checked. I had a 13mm little bolt holding the dipstick, so I kind of had to undo that one. Well, it was already undone. I didn't forget that one, but the alternator has one bolt that goes across the alternator, across the water pump, and into the head. That one has to be removed. So that one was already removed. I just had forgotten the dipstick. So got that out of the way. Ready to remove that head. The head is not that heavy. It's an aluminum head and it's somewhat light. So I'm gonna try and see if I can manhandle that one from side of the truck. So bear with me guys. Let me go ahead and try and get it off. Clearing up some space. I had some tools I had to get out of the way, and there's that. I think I'm missing a ground strap in the back, but let's see. Head gasket stuck on there. Okay, head gasket's off. Did I forget that ground? I believe I did. Yep, here it is. Well guys, that's kind of messed up, but it is what it is. I'm going to position the head back in place and get those ground straps removed. I got one here, that's 13, and I got one here, that's a 15. So let me get those off. Still got two ground straps that I got to undo. Well guys, now I got those two little ground straps, and there's another little push-in, one of those little Christmas tree little grommets holding the connector for the O2 sensor back there, which is a, you know, somewhat hard to get to, but I think I got everything off. Let's try and, yep, here goes nothing. Ooh. Well guys, cylinder head's off. Let me give you a better view. Now we got to remove head gasket. Head gasket. All right, that's that. You got to remove this. Aha. Got to remove these 10 millimeter bolt, remove this plastic cap, and let me get those injectors out. Sorry, let me get those lifters out, and let's go ahead and check them out. See what we see. We got to check out that little roller, the bottom needle bearings on it, make sure it's got no flat spots, and then we can look in and check out that cam. So let me get those that little roller lifter little case right there, take that out, and then I'll pull the lifters out. Give me 1 second guys. 50-60 miles but it is what it is guys. I'll go ahead and let them know that this thing is going to be down for a while longer. We need to get a camshaft for this thing. All right, well guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for now. I gotta let the customer know about this, and then I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to get it fixed, so I'll come back to you guys once I get an answer from him and he tells me to go ahead and continue and purchase that cam. Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Like and comment.